book is called Froggy Eats Out. It's by Jonathan London, and it's been illustrated by Frank REMKIEWICZ. Jonathan London does a great job of changing the way that the text looks in the book to help readers like us change our voices so that we can sound like we're really in the book. We can imagine how the character feels, what character trait they're showing, and we can change our voice so that we sound more like them. We can look at what the text looks like. If it's extra big, we're going to say it extra loud. If it's italicized and slanted, we're going to put a little emphasis into our voice and say it's special. If it's got extra letters in it, we're going to stretch it out. Help me read with expression in the book, Froggy Eats Out. Jonathan London also does a great job of putting a character trait in each book. Sometimes Froggy is distracted, but sometimes he's not, and he's very focused. Sometimes he's messy. Sometimes he's determined, and he just keeps trying. Sometimes he's really excited. Let's find out what character trait Froggy shows us in this book. Froggy Eats Out by Jonathan London, illustrated by Frank REMKIEWICZ. It was almost dinner time, and Froggy was hungry. He sat in the kitchen and dreamed about burgers and flies. Then he hopped up, and he looked for something to eat. He looked in the cabinet. Slam! He looked in the fridge. Slam! He looked in the oven. Bang! "Mom!" yelled Froggy. "There's nothing good to eat." "Froggy!" called his mother. "What? Did you forget? It's our anniversary. We're going out to eat." "Hooray!" sang Froggy. "Let's go." "First you have to get dressed up, dear. We're going to a fancy restaurant." So Froggy flopped to his bedroom. Flop, flop, flop. So I can see that this word is italicized. All of the words that have to go with the sounds are italicized, so we have to say them like they would really sound. And sometimes the words are extra big or have extra letters in them, and we have to stretch them out. Sometimes they're italicized, and they're written so that they go just a little slanty, and we have to put extra emphasis on our voice. That's why I said, we're going to a fancy restaurant. He slipped off his shirt, unzipped his pants, took off his shoes, pulled off his socks, and he even changed his underwear with a zap of elastic. Then he tugged on his best pants, zip, buttoned up his best shirt, zip, 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 put on his best socks, zoop, pulled on his best shoes, zup, and tied them up, zwit, zwit. And he put on his best bow tie, snap, and he flopped out to show his mom and dad, flop, flop, flop. "You look very handsome, dear," said his mother, "but you forgot to wash." "Oops," said Froggy. So he went to the bathroom, and he washed his hands and his face, splash, splash, splash. He used lots and lots of water, but only a little bit of soap. Now we know, boys and girls, that when we wash our hands, we should be able to wash them with soap and water, and be very careful to make sure that they're very clean afterwards. So you don't just want to splash, splash with lots of water and only a little bit of soap. Then he dried off with a towel, zoop, and he looked at himself in the mirror. He thought he was kind of cute. "Help me out." "Froggy!" called his father. "What?" "Time to go," said his dad. "We'll be late." And off they flopped to the restaurant. Flop, flop, flop. At the restaurant, Froggy's eyes grew big and round. There were glowing candles, flowers in vases, and tablecloths as white as snow. "This is a fancy restaurant," said Froggy. "Yes," said his mother, "so remember, be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table." What were Mom's directions? Be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. We're going to have to remember that. You know, in a lot of the Froggy books, Jonathan London gives us the same directions again and again and again. They repeat a couple of times. I bet Mom will repeat this to Froggy again. When they were seated, Froggy said, "I'm hungry, let's eat." "First we have to order, dear," said his mother. "I want a hamburger," said Froggy. "No hamburgers here," said his father. When the waiter handed him a menu, Froggy opened it and knocked over a glass of water. Crash! "Oops!" cried Froggy. "Oh, Froggy," said his mother, Remember what I told you? I know, said Froggy. Be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. But it was hard to be neat and quiet. He fidgeted. He shook salt on his hand and licked it. He banged his spoon on the table. Bang, bang, bang. Then he hit hard on the tip of his spoon and flipped it right into the waiter's head. Bonk. After the waiter finally came and took their orders, they waited and waited and waited. Froggy pulled petals off of the flowers. He blew on the candle. He sucked on sugar cubes and ice cubes. Be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. I think that's what his mother told him. Is he following directions? Yeah, I didn't think so. Then he hopped up and flopped around the restaurant. Flop, 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 singing, be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. Froggy, called his father. What? Please sit down now. So Froggy has been messy. And Froggy's even now been loud. Froggy sat down. Finally, dinner was served. Froggy stuck his fork into a huge plate of spaghetti and sucked some up. Oh, look at this word. It's super long and it's got a lot of the same letters repeated again and again and again. We're supposed to do what with this word? Stretch it out slow. It normally sounds like the word slurp. Help me stretch it out so that it's a super long slurp. Slurp. It was fun, so he slurped up some more. Slurp, slurp, slurp. And that's when he saw Froggalina. She was sitting with her parents. Hi, Froggy, called Froggalina. Who's that pretty girl, Frog? Asked his mother. Froggy was so embarrassed he ducked beneath the tablecloth and pulled, till his spaghetti and fly sauce landed smack on his head. Splat. What a mess. I thought it was messy when he was just putting a mess on the table, but now it's really messy. Oops, cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. So now he's embarrassed too. And he's messy and embarrassed. Happy anniversary, he croaked. What a mess, cried his father. Oh, Froggy, said his mother. Froggy scooped up spaghetti off of his face and said, I know. Let's eat out at a Fast Fly's place. Good idea, said his mother. Let's go, said his father, and together they leapfrogged all the way there. Flop, flop, flop. Where they all ate burgers and flies. Munch, crunch, munch. Did he follow the directions about being neat, being quiet, and not putting his feet on the table? He was messy in a lot of this book. I think that's the character trait he showed the most. Because he was loud once, and he was embarrassed once, but he was messy lots. So I'm going to go with that one. Thank you so much for helping me read with expression and follow all of the little text clues that the author put in the book to help us read with expression. Don't forget to read with your special reader's voice when you're reading your books.